Okay, hello everybody. My name is Jessica Hemans. I'm the training coordinator here at the National Consumer Law Center. Today's webinar is on crowdfunding basics. Our speaker today is Mikki Anaya. She's a coordinator of the Southwest Rural Policy Network, and today is May 29, 2013. Before we get started, I wanted to go over a couple technical tips. If you are listening on the phone, it helps to enter the PIN number. You can do the pound sign, the number, and the PIN, and you enter that into your phone keypad, not into the chat. If you are listening with the microphone and headset, please be sure your device volume settings are properly adjusted. If they are not working correctly, try unplugging and replugging them in. Everybody is muted during the presentation, and I am recording it. Questions. If you have a question about what Mikki's talking about today, you can type it in, and I'm going to relay it to her. She will be taking questions at the very end. If you are having any technical problems, you can also type those in, and I will try to assist you. There is an evaluation. It's going to pop up on your screen when you log out, so please do that for us. And either later today or tomorrow, I'll email you with a link where you can download the PowerPoint and the recording. So again, questions, type them in, and if you want to minimize that control panel, click on the orange arrow. Our presenter today is Mikki Anaya. She's a coordinator of the Southwest Rural Policy Network. She has worked for over 15 years raising funds in her various capacities, including as executive director of a not-for-profit organization and as a production manager for some of northern New Mexico's largest fundraising events. So hello, Mikki. How are you today?
Good morning, Jessica. Thank you very much for your assistance with this process.
Great.
So shall we begin then?
Yes, please.
All right, crowdfunding. The concept of crowdfunding actually is not a new one. A few generations back, art, research, and innovations were funded by wealthy patrons. Are we moving, Jessica? My slides aren't rolling.
Yes, I've sent you the share screen. There you go.
Okay, here we go. All right, thank you. So through crowdfunding, a project receives small amounts of money from many patrons. Thus, the definition of crowdfunding is the act of many people contributing money to a project. And a great example of a crowdfunding project is the money that was raised for Karen, the school bus monitor. After a video went viral showing Karen being bullied by a group of middle schoolers on a school bus, a crowdfunding campaign was posted on the Indiegogo platform, and by July, over 32,000 funders had contributed over $700,000. And the vast majority of that money came in small donations, many under $5. So, Jessica, my slides are not moving.
Okay. Did you try using your mouse?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for the technical problems.
Why don't you just keep talking, and I'll pull up the PowerPoint on my computer.
Okay, great. Thank you. So how do people use crowdfunding? People use crowdfunding for several reasons. Some use it specifically to raise funds for a project. However, others use it to introduce their project to a larger universe, spreading awareness about their work. Others use it to generate excitement about their ideas. And because a successful crowdfunding campaign will reach out far and wide, crowdfunding can also be used as a movement building tool and to grow the organization's supporter base. Some crowdfunding campaigns incorporate all of those components. So before we move too much further, I'd like to go through a few of the terms we'll be using in this webinar. So a crowdfunding campaign is the process you and your team, if you decide to put a team together, will engage in. The specific elements of the campaign will be identified shortly. A campaign manager is the person responsible for pulling together and coordinating all of the elements of the crowdfunding campaign. The campaign manager also assists and oversees the tasks to be completed by the campaign team. Although crowdfunding campaigns can and have been run by a single person, running a successful campaign is a huge undertaking and involves work taking place within various realms. So think of your crowdfunding campaign as a business with different departments and each department requiring specific talents. So key team tasks will include writing content, marketing, media relations, and outreach, rewards fulfillment, if you offer rewards, and donor relations. So team skill sets could include expertise in social media and expertise in traditional media and marketing. Knowledge of community organizing and movement building techniques are also very helpful when you're running a crowdfunding campaign. A platform is basically the software package which supports a crowdfunding website. An all or nothing is a kind of campaign which the fundraising goal must be met in order for you to receive any funds that have been paid into or donated into the campaign. Now, Keep What You Raise is also a kind of crowdfunding campaign, which means exactly that. You're allowed to keep the funds you've raised regardless of whether your fundraising goal is met. A rewards-based campaign is a campaign in which a good or a service is given in exchange for the donation. And a donation-based campaign is one in which no reward is given. A reward or a perk, as they're also called, is the good or service that's given in exchange for the donation. So, okay, next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so the main steps involved in the crowdfunding process include defining your project, setting your fundraising goal, selecting your platform, creating your outreach strategy, signing up with the platform that you select, implementing your campaign, actively working your campaign, and then closing down and follow up. Next, please. So we'll go through each step in detail, and we'll begin with the process of defining your project. All right, next slide, please. All right, so really the very first place to start is to decide what it is that you're going to raise funds for and how much money you'll need. You might want to have a meeting of the minds, pulling together stakeholders to capture ideas, to gain support, and to build excitement among your core supporters for your project. This will help sort of set the foundation. And then you have to define what it is you want to raise funds for. So through the process of defining your project, you want to come to clarity about your project scope. You want to make it tangible, concrete, and realistic, and make it focused and specific, and one that will stay on people's minds. Next slide, please. So the next part of the process is to craft your ask, and basically this helps you pull together some language that you'll need for posting on your page, and it's also another step to help you further define what your campaign is all about. So your ask is basically a condensed description of your project, including the action that you want people to take. Your ask should get people excited about your project and show both your enthusiasm and your organization's ability to manifest the project for which you're seeking funding. The title of your campaign should be descriptive of your project, and it is helpful to make it catchy and humorous so that it sticks in people's minds. Now, the elevator speech is a description of your project in 3 sentences or less, and you want to get that down because during the process of a campaign, you want to be able to talk about this fundraising effort that you're engaging in. So when you create your elevator speech, you have your speaking points and you can go forward. Now, your call to action, which is generally the last part of the ask, is a statement of what you want people to do. And basically what you want them to do is you want them to fund your project, and you want them to tell their friends and family and associates to also fund your project. So your call needs to be clear, it needs to be compelling, and it needs to create a sense of urgency because you want people to act on this as soon as possible. Now, You want to use words like support or fund and avoid words like help or donate. And you can use commands such as, I need for you to make this happen. So just get people motivated. All right, now the summary description of your project is basically a more detailed version of the ask. Your description should be approximately 3 paragraphs in length, written in a tone that is reflective of who and your organization are. Craft this with the most important information first, and try and make the appeal and the connection be one that connects, that hits people at the heart level. So touch on why this project matters, include the goals of the campaign and why this campaign and this project is important. And it is also very helpful to have high level of detail regarding where the money is going to be spent and information about your project. So sometimes people just, when they see a lot of text, they won't want to read. So it might be helpful to break up your text with subheadings. Now, your next step then would be to set your fundraising goals. So that's the next slide, please. All right. You have to decide what your fundraising goal will be. Be sure that the goal that you set is an amount that will allow you to achieve something concrete and that it's realistic and that you can actually attain that given the capacity of your organization's abilities. So regarding capacity, consider whether your organization has the ability to run a promotional campaign using social media, traditional media, and email. And ask yourself if someone else within the organization will have the time to dedicate to being actively involved throughout the campaign. A crowdfunding campaign takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. So if you want to do this successfully, you need to make sure that you yourself or you have somebody who can dedicate that time to the entire campaign from start to close down. So next slide, please. All right, develop your budget. Be very clear about what it is you're asking your supporters to donate money for. A well-thought-out budget and transparency regarding the funds to be raised increases confidence in your supporters. Next slide, please. So then next you decide how long your campaign is going to run. Generally, a campaign runs about 30 days, but you want to check with the crowdfunding platform to see if they have any guidelines. Another thing to take into consideration is who your audience and supporters are and how long it'll take, number one, to get the word to them, and number two, to get them to donate money. So the next part of the process is to develop a project video. Next slide, please. So project videos are actually really important. There are several crowdfunding platforms that will require you to create a video, and even if the platform does not require you to do so, campaigns that have videos tend to raise more funds than those that do not. So videos, they help you engage your supporters. They're a more dynamic way of presenting your project, and they also show that you're a real person. More recently, there's been situations where people have done crowdfunding for projects that are not real, and so this just sort of gives it more credibility. So next slide, please. All right, your project video, you don't have to be a video expert to create it, nor do you need really high-end equipment. Most smartphones can do the trick. So your project video should be 3 minutes or less and should offer a clear call to action. You want to talk through your project and tell your story. A good video gives viewers a reason to stay on your page. Something else to consider is make it creative. Use text, photos, engage your audience, use puppets. The more creative your video is, the greater possibility you have for it going viral. And going back to the example given at the beginning, one of the main reasons for such a tremendous successful campaign to raise money for Karen was because the video went viral. So give that some consideration when you're putting your video together. So next slide, please. Images give you another way to communicate your message. You can post images on your project page that reflect who the organization is and what the project is all about. And if your project lends to it, you might also want to consider including an audio track as background music. However, be sure to check with the crowdfunding platform to see that you can upload a video file. So, or audio file, I'm sorry. Yes, rewards, thank you. Rewards are a way to show gratitude and can be used to help build stronger connections with supporters. They can also serve as a tangible reminder to supporters of the part that they played in funding your work. Now, rewards should increase in value as the amount being donated increases. But don't list too many rewards. Use either 3, but no more than 6. Some crowdfunding platforms will allow you to limit the quantity of what you offer as a reward. So you can make that as like an incentive. For example, if you give a reward for a $500 donation, you can say the reward is given to the first 20 people who make a $500 donation. So there are different types of awards. Rewards. The best rewards are unique, relevant, desirable, and there are various price ranges. Like small rewards can fall between $5 and $100, medium between $150 and $500, and the large rewards $600 to $1,000, extra large $1,000 plus. Now the rewards in the smaller level are generally rewards that are easy to deliver. For example, an MP3 file or a digital image or acknowledgement on a website. Rewards in the medium level are often physical goods, and large and extra large levels are often VIP passes to live events or a special custom-made item. Next slide, please. So example of some common rewards include like a handwritten card or note. They can go up to discounts on events that your organization might be producing. You could also have special T-shirts created. Next slide, please. And then, of course, as you get on to the larger rewards, they tend to be more elaborate and more more special, more expensive also. So in terms of what you cannot offer, next slide please, there are certain items that cannot be offered either because they're regulated or they just shouldn't be offered. And some platforms may have certain restrictions. So you may want to determine with the platform that you're going to use what your rewards can and cannot be. Now, next slide, please. So there are certain cautions about rewards. First of all, you as the fundraiser, you're responsible for delivering the rewards promised. So offer only what you can deliver and know that social forces and the risk to reputation are good motivating factors for following through with what you've promised. Also, be mindful of the related costs. For example, if you send your reward by mail, calculate the postage and the packaging that you'll need, and don't get blindsided by the cost of your actual reward. That all might cancel out the money that you're raising. So if you go through the process we just identified, you'll have a clear idea of what your fundraising project is and how you can make a well-informed decision about the platform that you're going to select. and that will be the next stage. And the next slide, please. So basically there's three kinds of platforms. One is an equity platform, and in that platform it's in return for money that is being requested, which is generally funds being requested by a business owner or a startup. The donor will get an equity ownership in the business. Now, on a debt or loan platform, the requester borrows money from a pool of people and is later given back that money plus interest. Now, many platforms allow the project manager the option to select between reward or donation. Some platforms are strictly one or the other. On a reward platform, the requester gives a reward in return for money. On a donation platform, the giver donates money to a campaign and receives nothing in return. Now, for the purpose of this webinar, we're talking exclusively about reward and donation type platforms. So as a part of this project, a survey of crowdfunding platforms was conducted and a chart was created. And that can be found posted on the Southwest Rural Policy Network website, and the web address is at the bottom of all these slides. So there you'll find different kinds of platforms. It's a chart that will identify whether it's a reward or donation platform, and it will also identify whether it's an all or nothing or keep what you raise kind of platform. So moving on then, there are different types of campaigns. Now, the all or nothing campaign is basically you don't get the money unless you raise your fundraising goal. On the keep what you raise, you receive whatever money comes in. So features to look at in selecting a platform. There's certain features you definitely want to consider. You want to check to see that the platform is nice looking, and if it seems to have content on the home page that engages people. You want to see if the platform is easy to navigate. You want to know what kind of traffic the site gets. Some platforms review your project before you can actually go live with it, so you want to know how easy is it for your project to be accepted to that platform. Okay, next slide, please. So there are some more advanced features also on some of the platforms. You want to know how easy the command center is to work with. You also want to check to see if there are some sharing tools that will help you spread the word. Like, for example, how easy is it to connect with Facebook or Twitter. And you also want to find out if the platform has an associated blog or a newsletter that might feature your project. So in approaching your decision of what platform to use, decide if you want to run a donation or rewards campaign, and if you want to have a campaign be all or nothing or keep what you raise. So when you make those decisions, then it's going to help you narrow down the field a little bit, because there's like hundreds of platforms to select from, and new ones are coming online every week. So next slide, please. All right, so then the question becomes, how do you find a crowdfunding platform? There are some sites that are starting to appear which will compile a list of crowdfunding sites, and some of those will even rate the sites. So there's a web address here, a couple web addresses on the slide. So I would recommend you start there. And also, again, I refer you to the crowdfunding platform survey conducted, posted at the Southwest Rural Policy Network website. So next slide, please. All right. Once you've selected your platform, then you're ready to create your fundraising page. This is where you'll plug in all of the work that you did at the start of this effort, including your project description. You'll identify your fundraising goal. You'll post your project video and any information regarding rewards if you decide to give rewards. And the platform that you select will help move you through the process. So next slide, please. All right. Once you've selected your platform, then you're ready to start your campaign. And it's really important to start out very strongly. So you want to line up a few donors, and you want them to be prepared to make a donation to the campaign as soon as your fundraising project goes live. This helps set the tone for the campaign, and it helps to build a sense of momentum and shows that there is already a community committed to the work that you're proposing in the project you seek funding for. So, okay. Now that you've set your project up on the platform, the work of outreach to potential donors and getting them to make contributions begins. This effort really is at the core of your campaign and will determine the success or failure of your crowdfunding effort. Next slide, please. All right. Projects are funded because backers rally around their friends' projects. Some supporters are inspired by a new idea and are willing to put up money to see that new idea happen. Others are inspired by a project's rewards. Donors may be moved by the passion of your team, of your project, or of both. So, next slide, please. You view your network of supporters as having 3 tiers. Tier number 1, friends, family, dedicated fans, including people from your donor base. This group will contribute first because relationship and trust has already been established. And tier 2 are friends of friends and associates. These persons contribute after they see other people contribute or see other people buzzing about your project via online discussions or in the media. And next slide, please. Okay, so yes. All right, so tier 3 is basically broader connections and the crowd. So this group contributes last because it takes more time to gain their attention and to win their trust. Now, designing your campaign, most crowdfunding platforms provide a mechanism for posting updates directly on your project's crowdfunding page. However, it's important to post updates, as any dead campaign pages will appear that there's no support, and people will start wondering if your project is still going to go ahead. So in addition, it's important to wage a communications campaign that utilizes a number of outreach tools. Next slide, please. The more you do to promote your project, the better chance you have at reaching your funding goal. Therefore, you must reach far and wide, starting before you actually launch your campaign and going all the way through follow-up and closure of the campaign. To do that, it's important to create a communications plan that addresses all phases of your campaign before, during, and after, and a communications plan that utilizes different kinds of outreach tools. You want to create awareness, you want to spur curiosity and interest in your campaign, and again, you want to have a very clear call to action. So running a successful crowdfunding campaign is a major undertaking. If you don't have the time or the skills to run an outreach campaign, then it's a good idea to put a communications team together. You'll want to find people with skills which range across the communications spectrum, including social media experts and those who can work with the traditional media. This team will help you develop the communications plan and will be the persons responsible for implementing it. Next slide, please. In creating your initial list of supporters, list friends, families, and donors first, as they will be your first supporters, and then continue by adding those who share something in common with you and with your project, be it values, culture, geography, or some combination. Identify the peers who you believe care about your project. Assess your professional network and access those who are affiliated with similar causes as to the one your project will address. In communicating with potential supporters, you want to take a closer, you want them to take a close look at your project, and you want them to engage in your campaign and to get them to support your efforts through donations. So it's helpful to understand your network of contacts and your community's network of contacts. And once you know who they are, then it's helpful to know what communication vehicles are the ones that reach your network. This can either be email, phone calls, or social media. It's also helpful to identify what aspects of your project are most valuable to them, as this will help you fine-tune your messaging. Next slide, please. The use of video, illustrations, photographs, and text is key in capturing attention, interest, and it's also a quick way to enlighten people. And as mentioned previously, a video describing your project is absolutely critical. Next, please. It's important to keep people informed at every step of the process. So you don't want to bombard people with messages, but you want to send out at least 3 or 4 notices throughout the duration of the campaign. Next, please. Okay, so you want to line up a team of early supporters to pledge as soon as your campaign goes live. So consider sending a personal save the date message to your close friends and family, telling them about your crowdfunding campaign, giving them the expected official launch date, and asking them that they be first to donate to get the momentum going. And we also always want to remember to ask them to share the message with their list of contacts. Next, please. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so 3 to 5 days following the launch, as the funds start to flow in and hopefully excitement for your fundraising campaign begins to build, you may want to think about sending out a thank you to early supporters and ask that they continue to spread the word about the campaign. And it's really important to keep the momentum going. So once every week and a half after your first update, send status reports on progress being made, and include photos and share good news about the project, such as any major contributions that might have come in or any milestones reached regarding your fundraising effort. And if pledges seem to start decreasing, re-engage your biggest supporters and ask them to help spread the word about the campaign. So then how does one generate buzz for your campaign? There are a number of avenues through which to keep the communications exciting and moving forward. Next slide, please. And those would include, of course, social media. Social media is one surefire way to spread the word about your project and reach a broad audience. A number of crowdfunding platforms make it easy for you to connect directly to various social media websites. It's also important to tell people about your project through your own social networks. Utilize Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Twitter is actually a very effective tool for posting progress updates. Next slide, please. There's a number of other ways to promote your crowdfunding campaign through different kinds of online platforms. These platforms would include email, your organization's website and blog if you have one. And you might want to also consider posting in forums on relevant and like-minded online communities. So contact blogs that are related to your project and see if they're interested in writing about your crowdfunding effort. Email can be effective also because it seems to feel the most personal. If you send an email to all of your friends and family that include a link to your project page, that's also very helpful. But you may have to explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you might also have to explain what crowdfunding is, just in case they're not familiar with the term or how it works. Always be sure to ask them to share your email with their networks. Other online activities, consider creating links from your website to your crowdfunding page. You can post banner ads on friendly sites, send a press release to the email newsletters that you receive, post your video on YouTube and other video pages, and link the video back to your project page. Next slide. All right, we must not forget the traditional media, so look for newsworthy angles regarding your project and write a press release, send it out to your local media, remember including newspaper, TV, and radio stations. And if you're operating within an industry niche served by trade publications, be sure that they also receive the press release. If you want to track if any media coverage has taken place, you could set up a Google alert for phrases related to your project, and you'll be sent an email every time an article that is written by the press regarding that subject. Next slide, please. And there are other ways to promote your projects. Phone calls, text messages are useful, especially when you're cultivating larger donors. And you might want to sign up for a StumbleUpon account and post your page there. StumbleUpon is a discovery engine, a form of a web search engine that people use in order to find things that interest them. Consider purchasing advertising. You could do Google AdWords, which allows you to create a pay-per-click campaign, meaning that you'll only pay when people click on your ad and visit your project page. And there's also a number of guerrilla marketing tactics that draw a lot of attention at very little cost. And the slide shows you a website link that you can check out. So you could also go offline. You could basically do it the old school way and conduct launch parties, face-to-face meetings with people, host giving events where you set up laptops and show people your project page and get them to pledge right then and there. You can also deliver and distribute flyers and conduct a snail mail campaign. And you could use your own mailing list, or you can purchase a targeted mailing list. Consider setting up teams also to help with the fundraising. Have the team members establish their individual fundraising goal and then set an overall fundraising goal for each of the teams. And consider engaging the assistance of a celebrity. And there's a link there on the slide that gives information on how one contacts celebrities. So, next slide, please. All right. If your campaign has a deadline, send an update 3 days prior to the deadline, asking your network to continue help spreading the word. Next, please. Once your fundraising campaign has ended, it's time to close down and do your follow-up. Be sure to thank your supporters. Let them know about the success of your campaign. And if you ran a rewards campaign, make sure you send those rewards out quickly and be reachable for questions people may have about receiving their reward. And ask people if they wish to remain on your mailing list. Remain in communication and keep your network engaged, as most organizations will crowdfund again. So you might also want to send pictures of your team in action and photos of the communities that were benefited by your project. Tell your supporters what your next steps will be. And you can use this as an opportunity to build your organization. If you receive funding from people not on your original contact list, ask if you can add their names to your address book. And you could even use this as a base for recruiting volunteers. And you certainly want to publicize the success of your campaign, so that would be an opportunity to send out another press release. So next slide, please. All right, when it's over and done, you definitely want to evaluate. You want to ask yourself how this project went, and if you put a team together, ask yourself how well the team worked together, and then evaluate the project itself a little bit to determine if the people that you reached out to actually were engaged by it, and if the project was something that they cared about. So it's a good idea just to review what work was done. Next slide, please. All right, having said all of that, now you really want to know, now that you know what is involved in conducting a crowdfunding campaign, you want to determine if crowdfunding is actually the way that you want to go to raise money for your project, because there are other ways to fundraise. So you want to determine whether the effort is going to be worth it, if there's going to be a good return on your investment. And again, primarily your investment is going to be a big investment of time. You also want to know whether or not your project is a good candidate for crowdfunding. It's good to consider that before you get engaged in all of this work. Next slide, please. Okay, so the crowdfunding campaign, it's not unlike any other kind of fundraising effort in that it will require some time, and it could even cost some money. If paid consultants or staff are spearheading the effort, then there will be a cost to it. So you want to search various crowdfunding platforms and take a look at projects that are similar to the project that you have in mind. Observe, for example, what has worked and what hasn't worked on those projects. To find a successful project, look at the sections on the site, such as successfully funded or popular. To find projects that are not hitting their fundraising goal, look at some of those that would be categorized under the ending soon category. So obviously projects succeed or fail for different reasons, but researching examples of successful projects and projects that are falling short of their goal will help you get a feel for what might or what might not work, and what you might want to avoid. So there are three fundamental points that will help you determine if your project is a good candidate for crowdfunding. Ask yourself if your project is compelling. Can it be clearly defined using as few words as possible? And is your fundraising goal realistic? Will it fund the work, and will you be able to reach that goal? And then ask yourself if your organization has the time and the skill, particularly in the area of communications and outreach, to be able to run a successful campaign. Questions like, do you have a large base of support? And in addition, do you have a large qualified audience with whom your project might resonate? And are you able to convert those people into supporters and donors? It's always helpful to go back to your community and ask for advice. Ask your community if they or anyone that they know has run a crowdfunding campaign, and if so, what their experiences have been, and ask if they have any suggestions and recommendations. And so for additional information, you could always turn to crowdfunding professional and industry trade associations. The crowdfunding industry is beginning to grow, and as a result, there are professional and trade associations that are being organized. And these groups, they work to help establish standards and best practices and to educate and protect the American crowdfunding market. Now, there were some additional resources, next slide please, that were compiled. So those are posted again on the Southwest Real Policy Network website, and you're welcome to take a look if you have any interest on, like, for example, what the government regulation of crowdfunding is shaping up to be. There are also a number of links to a variety of stories on crowdfunding, and they're very informative. I would recommend before you even start the process of looking at a crowdfunding project, you might want to read some of those links. So that's what we have for now. Are there any questions? And again, Jessica, thank you for helping out here.
Thanks, Vicki. We do have a question. It is, Ron asked, if a project falls short of its goal, can you start over again?
The answer is, the short answer is yes. You can start over again. Now, you may have to run through the project's deadline on the platform. It all depends on what platform you're using, but more likely than not, you will not be able to pull the project before the deadline. But you could restart the project on a different platform.
Okay, and kind of following up with that, can we use multiple sites at the same time?
Yes, you can do that, but you might want to think about the strategy behind that. It might not work out well to do that because essentially what you're doing is you're kind of you're splitting your energy and your efforts. Now, the thing about crowdfunding platforms, the concept of if you build it, they'll come really does not exist. You have to create that need. So if you're posting on several platforms simultaneously, you're having to generate traffic to each of those postings.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's basically a strategy question.
Okay, this person had a question specific to nonprofits and legal services campaigns. Can clients, or I guess should clients, former or current, be included? I'm not sure if that's like an ethics question.
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. I think it all goes back to how an organization determines that they'll use their mailing list or their client list. Some organizations are real, like, I don't know, community-based in the sense that they have a big, like, public following. And then some organizations provide services that are based in confidentiality. So it all depends on what the organization's policy is regarding the use of their client list.
Okay. Let's see here. We have a question. Amy has a question that's, what are some things to consider if trying to figure out if a project can be crowdfunded versus crowdsourced, wanting to do an awareness campaign, example?
Well, I think, crowdsourcing is essentially the foundation of crowdfunding. And some people use the term kind of interchangeably. So I'm not exactly sure, like, for example, if somebody wants to crowdsource a project and use the donation now button on their own website as opposed to using a crowdfunding platform, is that the essence of the question?
I think so, just comparing the two.
It all sort of comes down to the same thing because basically in either situation you're going to have to drive people to that Donate Now button. And you might actually have a slightly larger audience if you go with a crowdfunding platform, because then your project comes out not just on your own website, but it comes out on a website that other people visit.
Okay. We have a good question about, could crowdfunding be used to facilitate an IDA savings match program?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what the regulations are regarding the IDAs. I don't know if there's a provision within the IDA clause that says that you can only use your own money. So I guess the answer to that would be to go back and check the IDAs to see what sources they allow for contributing towards that.
Okay. So we have one question. It's about, it says, the emphasis on this presentation seems to be a lot that's focused on larger groups. But what about the smaller groups? Do you have examples or any tips for the smaller groups that want to use crowdfunding?
Yes, actually in the list of resources, there's a link to a crowdfunding platform that was set up for teachers to raise money to buy school supplies for their classes. And so, the issue really may not be so much whether the organization is large, but whether the group of people trying to raise money have large email mailing lists, because really the whole key is about the number of people that you can get to outreach to be able to make donations. But check out that web link on the schools.
Okay. Shirley had a question that says that she said she's gone to the Southwest Rural Policy Network, but she's not able to find anything at all on crowdfunding. Where is it on the website?
Let me check with our web person. If you want to send me an email, and I think my email address is in the last slide, I'll be happy to email all of the documents directly.
Okay, great. I'm just going to show that last slide now so people can see it.
Yeah, there we go. It's coord at swruralpolicynetwork.org. So I'm sorry that it may not be up on the website. I'll check with our web developer. But if anybody wants any of this information, just send me an email and I'll email you the document.
Okay, great. And then a couple of people wanted to know, I think you mentioned this briefly in your presentation, but maybe more people want to know actual examples of sites. Like I know some people mentioned Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Are there any other sites that are good for crowdfunding that you would recommend?
I won't recommend any sites.
Okay.
They're all like sort of based on what your project is. But oh gosh, okay. That survey that we put together, that Southwest Rural Policy Network put together, has a whole bunch of sites. Of course, Kickstarter is the biggest one. Indiegogo is the one that ran the Karen campaign. There's I can't think of any off the top of my head, and I'm not able to get to my my chart. But again, send me an email, and I'll send you the chart. It has at least 50 different sites listed.
Okay, great. Well, we are all out of questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just want to say a big thank you to the Rural Supporting Organization for making this project possible, and to the Southwest Rural Policy Network members for their work and contribution in this.
Great. Okay then, so as Mikki mentioned, this webinar is also part of the Rural Exchange series that we're doing. We're going to continue to post updates there and discussions related to all the webinars, so please also check out that website. We have another webinar in this series. It's on rural wealth. We have Melissa Levy from Yellowwood Associates, so June 20th. I'll send you all the information to register for that webinar. Please do the evaluation for us when you sign out. You just need to exit out of the webinar and it will pop up on your screen. I'll email everybody probably tomorrow where they can access the PowerPoint and the recording. It will be posted both on our website and Mikki's website. And so you'll be able to access all that. And thank you so much to our audience, and thank you so much to Mikki today.
Thank you very much.